I gotta say, this next guest that has just signed into the Quiet Place, I, I'm doing this interview out of somewhat selfish reasons because I saw a found footage movie called Evidence about 4 years ago, and as a fan of a genre of a subgenre of films that gets a lot of grief and not a lot of praise, that being the found footage film subgenre. Um, I can understand that most people will not have seen this movie, but it's a shame. It seems fairly standard for the first, I don't know, half of the film, or I don't know, three-fourths of the film. And then in the final, I want to say 25 to 30 minutes, you are plunged into this subterranean Area 51 type wonderland in the middle of the, I don't know, desert or mountains that I have never seen in a found footage film quite the way it's presented here. It's absolute madness for the last 25 minutes. It becomes a totally different film. Uh, and it stuck with me to the point that when I found out that there was a sequel in the works, only to find out then that it was in what we call development hell, I said, all right, I've had enough. I've got to go right to the source. Um, so joining me now is the director of Evidence, Ryan McCoy. And Ryan, thank you for giving me your time here.
Jeremy, I appreciate it. Thanks for the intro. Just to be perfectly clear, because I like to, well, I'll take all the credit for the director job, but technically I wasn't the director, but it was, I wrote it and produced it, and it's definitely, it's my vision, but I technically am not the director.
Oh, who did?
A guy by the name of Howie Askins, who, we can get into that too. I don't talk to him anymore
Oh,
very much either. So.
okay. Um, so, first thing I've got to ask, what the hell happened in the last 25 minutes? We've got um, giant insects running around on the ground as they penetrate this base, this government installation in the middle of the woods that they were not supposed to happen across. We've got creepy guys like sitting in on someone else's campfire and waving a gun around, like tauntingly almost. We've got giant bear things with glowing red eyes, like bear monkey hybrids. We've got people in gas masks going rogue and chasing car after cars. We've got people walking around on stumps with like Aphex Twin type mouths, like expanding and deflating. What did I see in the? We've got alien births from dead bodies.
Birds that, but I almost had like I have a pig. I almost put that in there, but I didn't want to deal with the stress of it. So you ready? You ready for the story of how I came up, like how it went all crazy?
Yes,
Can I swear? Is this okay?
you could say whatever you want. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Um, so originally, right, the concept was that the beast that's kind of stalking these kids and chasing them is actually like part of a like kind of underground human tribe in the canyons surrounding Los Angeles that believe they're monsters, and so they dress up like them and act like them, but they're actually just humans. If you ever saw 13th Warrior with Antonio Banderas, the exact same principle. What happened was we shot literally up to the scene where they fall down the stairs in the cellar. That was the last night of like basically principal photography. We put together an assembly edit from there because I was looking for a cave location for the ending, for the big reveal, right? That these are creatures, they're humans, and had an entirely different ending in mind. But I found this location in like near Compton, LA, and got it's literally 8 acres of warehouses that I got to use for an entire week for, I mean, dirt cheap. And my my imagination started to go, and once I went to the space and started to look around, I was like, we need to use this, like, because the whole point of me making the movie in the first place was I saw Paranormal Activity, the very first one, a year after its release when it came out in DVD, and I knew the whole story about how much they made it for and everything like that. And Abby, who was my girlfriend at the time, now wife, who's in Evidence, we finished watching it, and I said, I can do that, but I want to do it bigger. And so my whole goal for Evidence was try to make it the biggest possible movie I can in terms of scope. I had 12,000. I paid for it all out of pocket, so whatever it cost to make, I spent. So I found that location, then my imagination started to go wild, and then I had this idea of what if they stumbled upon this underground military bunker, do a kind of Resident Evil type thing, you know what I mean? Not getting fancy again. I was just going for the spectacle of it. And so then what we did is we went back through the assemble edit that we had and found points and came up with scenes that we could reshoot, or new scenes entirely that we could add to kind of push towards that plot throughout, because that plot obviously wasn't in when we originally shot the movie. So a lot of people don't know about that. That's the reason why the ending's so crazy, is because I got there, and then we shot 2 nights in a row, like 2 days of setup, 2 nights of shooting, and then a day of cleanup. And those guys in the gas mask that you say, that's actually me, every single one of them. Because I was too afraid. I didn't want anybody else to get hurt, and we didn't have any bodies or whatever. So
Right, your character was already dead by that point, so
my
yeah.
character, exactly. My character is already gone and dead, and so I literally make like 12 appearances in Evidence as different characters, because I just wanted the spectacle, right? We like the scene where that one gas mask guy jumps in the bed of the truck. I found a scaffolding that was sitting there, 25 feet up, and I was like, well, that would be really cool, because I loved I really wanted to not milk, but really use the style, the cinema verite, the found footage style that we're going, and really see how far we could push that. And what we found is that you can easily mask edits, through whip pans and stuff like that. You just have to plan for it. And so once we kind of dialed that in, I was like, well, how about I jump off the top of this and jump in the back of the moving truck, and like, how's that for cinema? That's pretty cool. So really dangerous. We didn't have permits or insurance or anything like that, but we did it, and we got it all in the can.
I mean, there has to be some sort of unifying vision, like storyline wise, for everything that was going on. Can you divulge it? My impressions, I don't know how far you dip into the fringe, the conspiracy and the UFOs and all that, the fringe stuff. I grew up on it, but my first impression is that it was some sort of Montauk project style experimentation going on at that base, that maybe they tapped into some world or other dimension through the use of like frequencies, or there was some genetic experimentation or some hybrid of the two. I don't know. I mean, did you have some sort of vision towards what was going on,
I mean, honestly, the vision came, and I always knew. So like, here was my plan. It's like, okay, I'm gonna make Evidence 1, get myself put on the map. Evidence 2, I'll explain everything, right? Because I know that's a big paradox. And so the script for Evidence 2 actually takes place during the exact same time period as Evidence 1, only it's all told from the underground facility. So the 2 main characters are security officers, for the place, and it's like training day. there's like the veteran and the rookie first day on the job. You know what I mean? And just so happens that's the day when shit hits the fan and all these things kind of break out. And yeah, so very much uh, basically what they're trying to do is trying to build, you know, uh, the perfect soldier. You know what I mean? Like the new kind of like the creatures, the four-legged creatures. I called them berserkers, or we call them zerks, in the movie, which was short for berserker. Uh, so basically, look, nothing that hasn't been done 1,000 times before, but just yeah, genetic experimentation. Basically, they got the aliens of Roswell, or wherever, and they started experimenting with human DNA, with animal DNA to try to breed and create this like super warrior, that could go out and rip the enemy to shreds. But then in evidence too, we actually push it a little deeper to um, like the corporations like just doing these experiments, kind of like cabin in the woods type, style, a little bit like this company are doing these experiments, just to see what happens, or they're releasing these outbreaks of these creatures to see how they interact with nature and how they react to things like that. So that's basically it. Not too fancy, nothing, no big strong message, whatever, stuff like that. Just wanted to make something that's just pure entertainment, because look, it's a found footage movie, so I get it. We're not going to be like, shedding tears and moving hearts and winning golden statues because of them. It's a genre type film, and so but I just wanted to push the limits as far as I could. But yeah, the story is just that it's genetic experimentation, alien DNA, alien human hybrid DNA.
I kind of got the impression that the one lone survivor, the surviving character, at what Ashley,
Uh
that
huh.
that nothing good comes of her surviving. I just got that impression. Would that be far off? Would that be
I,
inaccurate?
I would suffice to say that is a very accurate impression.
She's going to be their guinea pig, basically.
Just yeah, one of many. I mean, like I said, dude, I'll send you the script for the sequel. You can read it. It'll probably. I mean, it answers every single question. It explains where every monster comes from, why they're there. The kind of uh, the chronological thing, or the progression, of from worm to crazy and infected person to berserker creature to that whole kind of thing. It definitely connects all the dots. Um, I actually I had a fan in the UK who same thing, man, just always was hitting me up. When's evidence two? When's evidence two? And finally said, "Fuck it," and I just sent him the script. I haven't heard back from him yet, but I was like, "Read it, man." And I was like, "I look, I don't know if it's ever gonna get made, to be honest with you." Um, and that's if you want to get deeper, we can talk about when it had hot legs a year ago, but it's definitely not getting made this year. I can promise you that.
Well, I remember, that's kind of what made me want to accelerate the process in getting this uh, interview together, because you said that it had the green light, but then it was halted for whatever reason. Let's get into that. You said it was a fairly involving story. What went wrong?
Um, so we I had about 3 years ago uh, decided to basically say fuck it. My wife said she would fully support us in terms of like paying all the bills and rent and everything like that. And she's like, just go back at it, because when I did evidence, I was hot. It was 254 at its height on IMDb in terms of its rating. Paramount calling me at my house. I'm screaming for, you know what I mean? Like I was like, oh, this is it. And then it didn't happen because honestly, I didn't have anything to follow it up with.
Now,
and
I wait. Hang on. I just want to interject for just a second. I hope I don't throw you off course here, but is that you said what 254?
yeah,
Is
was the
that
was
above average for your typical found footage flick?
for okay. Not only is it well above average for your typical found footage flick, for a movie that was completely independent, literal, no names attached to it whatsoever at all. Um, like for example, most independent movies that do their thing, that are non found footage like will range anywhere from like 70,000 to like 80, 90,000 on the IMDb rating, and that's like good. That's like it's doing its festival things. Doesn't have any names necessarily or any track for the filmmakers. When you hit in the 254s and whatever, it's like like if you look at Bradley Cooper's IMDb right now, I'm just using that not right now because he was just on TV a bunch for the Super Bowl game, but like if you looked at it the day before that, he would probably be in the low hundreds. You know what I mean? So it like I said, it immediately garnered attention. I was getting phone calls from agencies, studios, management companies that I wasn't reaching out to them. They were reaching out to me because they heard of the movie um, online. I sent a bunch of screeners out. Dread Central wrote a incredible article that really helped jumpstart us, and so I could just see the amount of eyes and the attention it was getting. Um, so that happened, and then I didn't have anything to follow it up with, and so then I kind of like dipped down for the next like 2 or 3 years, and then so yeah, 3 years ago decided to come join or started up again, just fucking go for it, and formed a production company with a longtime friend of mine, Josh, um, and the DP of Evidence, Daniel, and we did a bunch of short films for the first year. Got some traction. We went to the American Film Market. It's called AFM here in Santa Monica in California in November. This was 2016. I grinded, hustled, hit the pavement, made a bunch of contacts. Of the 4 movies we brought that were just in development, so just scripts and not, we hadn't shot anything. One of them was Evidence 2, which is called Evidence Ground Zero, and there was a company um, that liked it. They wanted to do it. There was a couple actually, and we decided to go with one. And we were kind of thought we were off to the races, And so then we started working on the script, developing it. I had already written it, but it wasn't very good. I didn't think. And so we wanted to add more like actual character, arc and actual story and plot and stuff like that, and not just repeat the same thing of just do like an action, you know, found footage style. We didn't want to just do Rec 2 again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I also wanted to I've read every single comment anyone has ever posted about Evidence online on any news story, YouTube channel, whatever. I've read every single one of them. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to answer all the questions of where everything came, because either the people that loved it love it but still want the answers. The people that hated it hate it because they don't have any answers. So I was like, if I link it all together and explain everything, it's a win-win on all fronts. The other thing, the other negative thing from the first Evidence was a ton of glitchy, and I actually totally agree with it now in retrospect and looking back. It's just too much. And so for Evidence 2, for example, it's still found footage, but they're body cams. And I put a line in there, page 5, hit your stabilizer. And so we planned on shooting everything steady cam. So very smooth and no glitchy and stuff like that, because I've never seen that in a found footage movie either. just in terms of that genre, I was always trying to think of things or find ways to innovate and to push that genre um, uh, to its absolute extremes, because it is a very, very cool style of filmmaking. I really enjoy it and like it. It just got uh, flooded with bullshit content material. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like there are very few like great found footage movies, I think. And unfortunately they all fall into the subgenre or subcategory of horror or thriller or action or what have you. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to do something different. And then so that brings us to last year, about January, February. I had decided again to not direct this. I've always felt this like weird kind of like curse with evidence. Uh, I don't know. How old are you? Are you
34.
okay? So we're from the same school.
Sure.
Like, you know, the old story of like Poltergeist, right? And like certain movies have this thing where like, oh, they're cursed, or you know,
Yes,
or
and The Exorcist with the priest saying that the celluloid it was filmed on was cursed.
exact
Yes.
exactly. So I actually I believe in that, and not, I mean, it's not, I'm not getting biblical by any means, but it's like, look, art has energy. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Uh, it's just a matter of fact. And so uh, I always kind of, I was like, I don't know, I just look, I want to direct my first feature film more than anything as the director, you know, and get those accolades, and prove myself, and literally and wear all the feeling or blame or praise with that. But I wasn't ready to do it with evidence too, and I still just my heart wasn't in it. You know, I wrote a really cool script, and I know I'm a hell of a producer, and so I asked Daniel, who was the DP on the first one, if he wanted to direct it. He obviously, of course, jumped at it, and then you know, he and I were working on the scripts, and you know, working on that. And we had a lot of high hopes, and then basically, dude, um, one night after he was up in my house, and we were working on the script, and it was a good day at work. We are, you know, moving forward. We went outside and we just started talking, and I mean, I can kind of explain it, but basically I suffered a major mental breakdown, and I'm talking like stripped naked, bursting down the fucking front door of my house, you know, almost, you know, killing my family, my wife and my child, and just completely out of control. And you know, police, paramedics, everything comes, it was crazy. It was definitely one. It was not one of. It is the most significant night of my life, hands down. And and from that, uh, I mean, I've spoken to, that was March 28th last year. I've spoken to Daniel once since then, and it was about a month or so afterward, you know, of like, what the, you know, are we okay? And it just, he panicked, you know, it was just, and I fully stepped away. I said, I'm not even touching or thinking about evidence anymore. I went deep into writing. I wrote 6 screenplays last year, like good, like ready to go into production screenplays. Did a bunch of other writing, a lot of rebuilding, just physically, mentally, got medicated, all
Wait,
that
this
kind of
was
stuff.
you wrote 6 screenplays after recovery?
Yes,
Oh,
during recovery. Yeah.
during. Okay. Now,
Oh, and so I had this massive mental breakdown. Found out I was diagnosed as having bipolar disorder, and so literally, like, it's like I was like I thought I was like, I always knew I was a little like crazy or a little off, you know, but
mm,
like I was like, no, like your brain just isn't wired like 99% of other people. That's weird. And so it's taken a long time of like, you know, self-reflection, looking back, you know, and finding out, you know, what I fucking care about now, and you know, just what am I doing? The great thing is I've been able to harness it, and I've never worked better in my entire life, and
You
I
know
continue
what's
to.
you know what's interesting? I just remember a scene from the movie Evidence where at some point during the hysteria at the RV or the camper, uh,
Yeah.
I just remember the character Ashley like just freaking out and like you're playing a character named Ryan, but I mean you know that's you.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
remember the way that your character blows up at her. I mean, it seemed like, man, this guy's a main character. Should he be that like belligerent about a woman being scared? I don't know. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It almost seemed like, you know, is this guy like this in real life? I don't know. It just something occurred to me at the time.
Dude, very, very much. No, that's 100% me. That's why I've sensed. I'm not. I'm gonna do the Hitchcock thing. I'm gonna put myself in every movie, you know, as like some little character, little side appearance, whatever. I'm fine with that. But in terms of like wanting to be an actor, I used to want to be very much so, but it's so fucking hard. And the only thing I can do that you know, translates on screen is be very angry or violent or aggressive or yelling or mean. And yeah, that's me, man.
Hmm.
That's me. So you know, that's the beast that I have to tame. That gave me an excuse to you know, let it out and have it be okay. But yeah, there's some, and that scene you're talking about, it's actually funny. But like we were like kind of shooting that, and I had this idea, and I was like, I'm gonna tell Ashley, like, I'm gonna go off and say I'm gonna break this fucking camera in her goddamn face if she doesn't shut up, you know.
That was
And
it.
again, there was a lot of like real life, like, you know, feelings. Like Ashley was like associate producer on it. She was like, you know, the people we were working with were like her friends, and like she, you know, got us all the audio gear, and, you know what I mean, for free. And so she was doing a lot, and it's not, you know, so there was like some just friction naturally between making a movie together. And so yeah, I was like, well, I'm just gonna let it all out. And so it's like, yeah, when I'm saying I want to bash that fucking camera in her face, in her goddamn face, I meant it.
um, hopefully you joke about it now.
Well, I can now because, you know, cat's out the bag. You know what I mean? You know, my disease is out there. Everybody knows about it now, and it's just, you know what, I don't have anything to lose now. And now it's actually, it gives people like, you know, they can call me out now. I start going crazy and start, you know, hyperactive talking. They're like, yo, slow down. And it's like, oh, you're right.
Now,
So it's a good thing.
the breakdown in question. Do you how much do you remember
100% of it.
really? Did
Scary. Yeah, that's the scary part.
you were going out in the into the backyard to talk about your plans to talk about the film, and just suddenly the walls come down, right?
Well, we live on we live in we actually filmed, I would say 45, maybe 50% of evidence, like in my backyard. So like that's where I live. Those canyons and trails is like, that's kind of where I live. It's on the outskirts of Los Angeles, and uh, so we have this like commons area with like a little fire pit and stuff like that we go and chill. And I mean, it's weird, but honestly, we went there and we were like, look, we felt good about what we're doing. We had other films in development on the horizon. We were kind of talking like, you know, oh, we're gonna do Evidence 2, and then we'll do this one next. You know, just kind of planning and, you know, looking forward to our future and stuff like that. Um, and then Daniel started to he wanted to tell me about the story of David, like from the Bible. David, he Daniel's an atheist, but studied the Bible and knows the stories very well. And he was like telling me he wanted to do like a Game of Thrones style TV show, but around the story of David. and it was very surreal. It was very weird, but you know, something happened. There was something happening. I could feel it, and I started to hear this voice in my head that said, "Look, you're gonna be safe. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna live, but you're gonna have to go through some fucking hell tonight. But you need to listen to the story. It's very important. You need to listen, and you need to pay attention." And basically, what happened is Daniel started to tell the story of David, and I was connecting all of the dots in terms of like what what I'm supposed to do with my life, the path I'm supposed to take was being laid out before me through Daniel telling the story.
You're
And
supposed to slay Goliath, right?
that's part of it. I mean, I mean, it's super, super detailed when you talk to his brother Saul, and there's all this stuff that just every single thing that he was saying, I could correlate it to my own life or what was going on in my life or a location or something like that. And just I mean, dude, there was some weird fucking shit that happened, and it was like I was like, okay, I'm getting a message from the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, um, and it became a lot, and I thought I had to like, well, no, I didn't think, I knew I had to like accept it. So I had, and by accepting it, I had to surrender fully to it, and that was very painful. Basically, I had to convince my brain and say it's okay to die now. Like, it's worth it. You know what I mean? The greater cause is worth it. You're gonna die tonight, but like everything that you've done, all the work, your legacy, or whatever, is going to change the world. And so I said yes, I accepted it. And that's when I fucking stripped down and lost my mind and was like, you want to talk about the Exorcist? I was like contorting, spitting, uh, blood and saliva everywhere and shit like that. It was crazy. And so yeah, my wife calls 911, and Daniel called 911, and they came, and they were like, oh, he's on bath salts, or he's on crack, or he's on coke, or he's on mushrooms, or anything. And look, I smoke pot pretty much every day. I drink beer and wine. I've never done hard drug in my entire life, and so that was not it. And so it was crazy, man. It was really crazy. Like I was stopping time. I was like fucking going back and forth. It was definitely, it was a message. It was a message that was sent to me. And so then after that, I was completely broken, right? Physically and mentally, like zero. My wife was terrified of me. Um, and I had to start from the bottom up and build brick by brick. And through uh, running, physical activity, I run, through medication, through meditation, through just self-reflection, music, movies, I don't know, just I started to expand my mind a bit and see what's a little bit more important in life. And so now I can go back and look at that night, and yes, I remember it with 100% clarity. 90% of it I can be like, okay, well, you were manic, you were undiagnosed, you weren't medicated, you have bipolar disorder. You know what I mean? And that's an interesting thing that I'm actually kind of self-reflecting on now. I'm writing a book and kind of looking back at time periods or things like that where I'm like, at the time I just thought like, oh, I'm just crazy gung-ho going for it. But now I can look back and be like, no, dude, you were fucking manic. You weren't sleeping. You weren't eating. All those things. And so, I've been able to build up from that, but there is still that 10% that I will never let go of. That is honestly the 10% that probably motivates me the most to get up every single day and work my face off uh, to do what I believe I'm meant to do. And that's just it. That's a crazy part that nobody's ever going to understand. Nobody, but nobody can ever fully get into somebody else's head ever. So it's like, that's it's there, and I think about it every single day. I relive that night every single day. So when you ask if I remember it, yeah, I remember all of it.
Well, now with evidence ground zero though, so that lost time though, that compromised that compromised the project. Would you say, even though in the greater scheme of things, personally and everything, I mean, it was what needed to happen. Would you say that that lost time is what compromised the project, or has it been placed on hold? Can it still be realized? What?
Well, it definitely compromised the project because I, as the creative force behind uh, evidence and the sequel, I purposely decided to turn my back on it, and I refused to work on it or do anything involved in it. Um, that mixed with the fact that Daniel, my DP and director and business partner at the time, was there to witness all that, and I mean, like I said, I talked to him once about it, and he was shaking. I was shaking over time. It was just he's the only person that witnessed it besides my wife, and so it's like it's like, and I haven't, and she and he haven't talked or compared notes or whatever. So yeah, it really just kind of killed it. It
Hmm.
really killed it. And then on top of that, my inspiration started to move into other places. The writing I did for the first time in my life, I was writing from the inside out. I was writing. I was putting myself in the characters, and instead of just coming up with an idea or cool thing and building a character and story from that, I was now starting with what message do I want to send on this film? What do I want to say with this film? Now, how do I build a main character out of that? How do I build a story out of that? And then the last thing you add are the spectacle and the images and the cool ideas and stuff like that. So it definitely completely changed the way I write. So that had a lot to do with it too, because once I started writing these, screenplays and stuff and starting to put myself on paper, it was like addictive. I wanted to do it more and more and more.
You mentioned at the beginning that you actually weren't the director of evidence. I thought you were credited as the director on IMDb, but you mentioned it was Howie Askins now, and you said that we could talk about that. What you said, you don't talk to him anymore. What happened there?
So I'll tell you what happened. Howie, I had met. So Ashley, who's Ashley in the movie and was also a social producer. She was one of the very first people I got signed on. I got the actors first because all four were friends. We were all working at the same bar together, and they were all wanting to be actors. And so I got them, and then she knew Howie through doing like different projects and stuff like that. And then Howie knew Daniel, and down the line stuff like that. At the time, was not technically sound. I had been out of the game for a while. Like I wrote and produced a movie like out of film school, but this was like 3 or 4 years after that, and so I know where my strengths and weaknesses are. And at the time, my weakness was literally like I don't know what fucking camera to use, that type of thing. So Howie was more technical on that. He comes from an editing background. He's an editor. He's actually a phenomenal editor. Um, and so he had an editing system. So I was like, okay. And the first time we met, we were getting to know him. We were very fired up, and we had very similar tastes in movies and stuff like that. And then, kind of towards the end, I asked him. I was like, "Well, what do you want? Out of this? Like, we're gonna work together. We're gonna do this. What do you want?" And he said, "Well, I'd like to direct it." And I said, "Okay, you can." and fully support him because I always believe if a producer hires a director or says somebody is going to be the director of their movie, then it's all on you. It's all on that producer. If the director fails, the movie fails, and it's your fucking fault. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I also um, like look. I would let him. I may like challenge him or fight him on things, but at the end of the day, I would give him. I would let him do it the way he wanted or do what he wanted because he was the director. So I think I'm a good producer in that aspect of the terms. But so basically, what happens? Like, look, we're all nobodies. All living paycheck to paycheck or whatever, what have you. The fact that this movie, not only got made because that's a rarity. People always talk about wanting to make movies. Very, very few people actually have the fucking balls and the guts to go out and make it. So we made a movie. Not only that, it, like I said, blew up. Through Dread Central, through the sites. It got popular. Um, it was just then we signed with a sales agent. Sales agents are now the devil. They shouldn't exist anymore. They're terrible. It's just a fucking that middleman circle of people that are making money off of other people's movies for so long just needs to die. And so, but the movie screened on Paramount. It was released. It started to get to released worldwide. We're still waiting on a domestic deal. The big thing that I think kind of fucked us, but also like I don't know, is the thing that is the reason. Let me ask you this, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Where did you see? When was the first time you watched Evidence?
Uh,
I'm gonna guess and say it was on your laptop off of YouTube for free.
you got me. I'm sorry,
I
man.
know I got you. I know. Because you know how many other millions upon millions and millions of people that have seen my movie that just like you that watch it for free? Tons. You know how many people paid to see the movie? Very, very few. What happened was the first deal that we made was a DVD deal in the UK. And it was released on, I think, March 12th, like 2012 or something, on DVD in the UK. And a day later, I Googled it, and it was on 20 different websites for free in English. Somebody had ripped the DVD and stuff like that. That's what boosted our IMDb up to 254. That's what got Paramount excited. That's what got everybody else excited, is because so many people started to watch it. And on top of that, I'm proud of the movie. I agree with you. I mean, people tell me all the time. Once a week, I get an email or a message. Evidence is my favorite found footage movie ever made, and I'm like, I could see that because I don't think the fare is very. I'd say there's maybe like a dozen, and that would be difficult to pick out a dozen. Really good found footage movies. I think most of them are shit.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm proud of the movie. I know it resonates, and so that was cool. But looking at it from Howie's perspective, right? He's still eating shit. He's still living paycheck to paycheck. His movie he directed is shot up to 254 on IMDb. It's getting screened at Paramount. You can go online and literally look at all the websites and see the millions and millions of people commenting and all that kind of stuff. So his frustration was, where's the money? That's it. Where's the money? And I was there equally not making any money, and I put all the money into it in the first place, and he was the only motherfucker that got paid. I actually paid him to be the director. Everybody else worked on deferment. Nobody got paid. He did. And so he was asking, where's the money? Where's the money? And I'm like, my number one thing is loyalty and honesty. I'm never going to fucking lie to you. I'm never going to turn my back on you. I'm never until you do it to me, and then you're just dead to me.
So he got
And so
paid. He at least got paid. But even though even you and your girlfriend saw not a dime. That's right.
100%. He
Yeah.
got paid $3,000, and the final budget on IMDb for evidence is I think 12,000 and something. So do the math. He got 25% of the budget. Imagine what I could have done with an extra 3 grand. A lot more, and I still got a helicopter out of it. The helicopter cost me $1,500. That one day of shooting with the helicopter cost me $1,500. He got paid twice the amount of money to direct the. And look, he put all the work in. He edited the entire movie. It was his system. That's great. All that kind of stuff. But my point is like, look, none of the other people involved in the movie ever came after me like, pissed. Where's the money? Where's the money? And shit like that. So, um, it culminated to, um, I don't know, 4 years ago or 5 years ago or something like that. Like evidence had died, but then like there was a new sales agent that wanted to resurrect it because I had gotten out of the old contract with the first sales agent, and that was a whole legal thing. And this other guy wanted to come in, and there was like no upfront costs, and he was like such a low percentage, and I was like, whatever, I don't give a shit. Like people are watching it for free every day on YouTube, but if I can make a buck, who cares? And so, but Howie had all the hard drive of all the raw footage and the master and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I remember meeting him at a Starbucks, like, dude, I need this hard drive, and he and I weren't talking too much more. We kind of separated, but like, he said no, he wouldn't give me my fucking hard drive because he thought I was holding out, and he thought I was sitting on top of this pile of cash and not paying him, his percent, because he also, not only did he get paid, but he also got, I think, like, supposed to get 10% of the profits, you know what I mean, after all the deferred payments, stuff like that, like a great deal. And he thought I was like lying to him and not giving all his money, and he couldn't be more wrong. And I got fucking pissed, and I said, give me that goddamn hard drive, you motherfucker. um and stood up and walked out and was like, that's it. And that's the last time I ever talked to him. I was able to, scrap together and find the right master and find the right files I needed and stuff like that. Also had to pay to redo the 5.1 mix.
Beginning to see why you had a breakdown.
Right? Yeah. That's just on the first one, dude.
Yeah.
So that's the story with that. Like, look, I have no ill will or wish any ill will towards anybody, ever. But that's what happened. That's the honest to God truth. And you know what? I'm sure there's probably 1,000 other stories in Hollywood that are just like that.
Isn't it amazing that something with that's a film with such great visuals and on such I guess a shoestring budget, and that takes your imagination to places. I mean, if you actually use it, had so much turmoil behind closed doors. I mean,
yeah, and the crazy thing, man, is like so many people, and look, it's hard for me because I live in LA. Like everyone I know works in the industry in some form or another. You know what I mean? And I don't know that many people. I'm just saying, like that's how I don't go to places and hang out with people. Not I don't go to like I don't know, street racing events or something like that. I don't know. I can't think of a good example, but
clubs. Is that a good example?
Clubs, yeah. But like you're in Tennessee, right? And you're not. It's hard for me to think about that, like, just the fans of the movie, just people that are fans of movies, or like you started this podcast because you're a fan of movies, you love movies, and you want to talk about them,
Yeah.
And so it's like initially I want to be like, well, no, you fucking idiot, like, don't you have any fucking idea how like cutthroat and difficult it is to like sell a movie and like work in the system when you're a nobody, when nobody respects your name at all. So initially I want to think that, but then quickly after that I have to be like, I put myself in the spot of like, look, like whatever you do or what, it's like I couldn't go to Tennessee. I'd be a stranger in a strange land as well, just as much. And so um, unfortunately, the industry I'm in, which is the only thing I'm great at, the only thing I've ever wanted to do in my entire life is to make movies. And unfortunately, that industry is so plagued with misconception and alluring lights that it's built up over the last 95 years. It's built up a public perception that A, it's easy, and B, um, you know, there's overnight success, and neither one of those are true. Whereas, like, if I were like a lumberjack, people would be like, "Oh fuck, like you put work in like every day." You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
oh, I don't know. I've never been a lumberjack. I've never cut a fucking tree down in my life, but I know lumberjacks work their ass off. So it's interesting.
the streets, the streets of L.A. and Hollywood, I'm sure are paved on many, 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 not just broken but raped dreams. I mean, destroyed dreams beyond recognition, right?
And those are only the ones you read about.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I know personal stories. I know one. I've seen ones that only made local headlines. Oh, another actor killed himself today. Because I watch the morning news every day.
Hmm.
It's like, oh, another actor killed himself or OD'd or whatever, or murdered his former assistant and stuff like that. And I'm like, this will never reach Tennessee. This will never reach fucking you know Ireland.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's like
That's a funny
it's
thing, though. We stay on the internet down here, so we catch a lot more than you would think.
I know. Tennessee's doing their thing. I can't wait. I've been to a lot of states, never been outside the country, but
Mhm.
like but Tennessee I'm really excited to check out for the first time. What city in particular are you in?
I'm in an area, a region called the Tri Cities, like Johnson City, Kingsport, Bristol. I'm right outside of that in Bluntville. So, uh,
I, I've heard of the Tri-Cities. Cool.
yeah, yeah. So, what you're really heading out this way sometime?
Eventually someday I'll
Yeah.
be there. Yeah. Go check
So,
out Chattanooga.
you said that you wrote 6 screenplays during recovery.
Yes.
And I noticed you have a few more credits on IMDb now, like something called Bugs, and also Right Forward Turret.
Uh-huh.
Now,
Yeah.
are these shorts or full length?
No, full length features. So basically, like when you look at, like, I put all those up there myself. Look, I've been doing it long enough and have like a reputable enough name. IMDb's weird. Like some people like submit something and they have like they're actually filming it and they have like full production, full cast and shooting, and IMDb will refuse it as a title. For some reason, they've always accepted my shit. And so, like this last year, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just put all these ones up in development because that's what they're in. I'm not writing them anymore. I've written them. So I'll start with Bugs. Bugs is which after Sundance, we were very, very, very successful in terms of the people we met, and the movies we were playing. And so Bugs, I believe, is going to go into production in the next 6 months. Within the next 6 months. All the work has already been done on it in terms of preparation. It just needs a cast, a very little amount of money, and a location, and I'm good. That one is about a group of girlfriends who get trapped in a beach bathroom after a swarm of insects overrun Los Angeles. Uh, on the surface, it's a marketing, you know, winner, right? Bugs, all female cast, bikinis, like sold, right?
Hmm?
on, but underneath, what it really is it's actually like an exploration into like uh, female dynamics when it comes to like quote unquote best friends, you know. And so there's like the main character whose boyfriend of 5 years just cheated on her, and she found out, and so she moves down, or she just comes down to visit to LA to her best friend that she from back home. But that best friend has a new best friend, you know, and it's very LA, it's very, you know, centered around like Hollywood, and kind of takes its jabs and stabs at that. But like, if you ever seen a movie called The Descent, very very similar in terms of its themes and stuff like that. You know, there's 5 girls in the movie, and only one of them gets killed by the bugs, and
Secrets.
there's only one left at the end. So do the math.
Oh, spoilers! Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
So yeah, secrets start coming out. You know what? I never liked you because, etc., etc.
yeah, shit like that. Yeah.
Well, you don't need
Yeah.
bugs to unleash the competitive spirit in women, right?
Not at all. That's why it's kind of cool. And so here's an interesting insight. Um, I've had that movie for 3 years, that script for 3 years. I've been trying to make it, and I don't need a lot, like at all. 150 grand, and the movie's done. Like that's ridiculous. I can't get that because literally, notes I've gotten, everybody's like, "Oh, the title's great. Oh, uh, Bugs, Blood, and Bikinis. Great, perfect. Like we shot teaser trailers for it when we had certain investors excited. All this kind of stuff, but um, nobody ever understands. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
What are you? Oh, I'm doing it.
I can pause it if you want.
No, it's cool.
Okay.
Is he asleep? Um. So where was I going with that?
We Bugs, Blood, Bikinis. You only need
Oh, so yeah, so
150,000.
the fact that it's hard for me, like I have to convince people that it's more than just a genre horror film or something like that, drives me insane. You know what I mean? I'm like literally one of the notes I got back was, can we see more bug deaths? Like, can we see more deaths caused by bugs? And I'm like, you fucking idiots. It has nothing to do with the movie at all. you know. Um,
Wait, it's called
uh,
Bugs, and bug deaths don't have anything to do with it. I mean, I mean, and I
Right.
know
It's
it's
like
about.
well, because of what I wanted to do is I kind of mirrored it. I was inspired by Hitchcock's Birds, and it's like if you watch Birds, it's like
It's
yeah,
not
there's a
all
bunch of
about
birds.
birds. Yeah.
Yeah, guess what? They don't explain shit. They just show up, cause cause the disruptance. They don't even appear till halfway into the movie.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like we've already developed the characters and the relationships so much that when the birds do come, then we're that much more invested and that much more into it. And so I wanted to do the same thing, but with bugs. And so yeah, that was a difficult thing to.
Hitchcock would be run out of Hollywood now, right? He's not
Um,
fast enough. He's not on to the next scene like, just instantaneously, right? It's he's not he was too
well,
subdued
well,
for
you don't have to be that. You don't have to be that. Look at uh, David Fincher. What you do have to do is you have to have, like Hitchcock had some of the biggest fucking balls in history. Kubrick had some of the biggest fucking balls in history. Fincher has some of the biggest balls in fucking history. And I mean, and they did it from their first films. It's not like they fought the system from the ground floor up at every turn they possibly could, just in order for their artistic vision to be seen and to be heard.
Mhm.
Thus, like, goes to my theory that the more you tie a filmmaker's hands, the shittier his product is going to be.
you
Let
know
them go wild. Let
yeah,
them go
one of the
wild. Let them do
reasons. No, I'm sorry.
whatever
Go.
they want.
Eh,
Yeah, exactly.
One of the
Because
reasons that Kubrick was so uh, was able to show off those balls so much was that the beautiful thing was after he reached a certain point in his career, he was allowed final cut, which means if he wanted to make a 6 hour movie of ceiling tiles, he could do that. They trusted
Exactly.
him, you know.
Yeah. And that's the interesting dynamic, because look, if Hitchcock's movies never made money or weren't successes, or then no, he wouldn't have gotten that. So you do have to please the gods, so to speak, and make the money back, and 10 times, 20 times more than that. You have to be commercially successful, but then you can't just be commercially successful. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You also, if you want to be legendary, if you want to go down as one of the greats, which I do, then you have to also be artistically, you know, incredible. And the only way you're going to be able to find that balance and keep that balance is that if you just have the fucking balls to say fuck you and I'm going to do it my way, and be willing to eat shit and willing to take those risks and be like look, like I have a movie, a script that I wrote, called Apocalypse. I don't know if you saw a bunch of shorts, but those are all like in the same world. Um, and at one point, I had a company out of Toronto that wanted to do the film, for like 1.5 million. They were going to fly me up there, pay me a per diem. I was going to get a producer credit on set every day, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Um, but they were only going to pay me like 10 grand, and uh, whatever percentage, or something like that. And my wife, Abby, who's an actress, right? She's the lead character I wrote, or one of the lead characters in there. And so I said, Oh, and they had ties in with like a VFX house. That's how they're going to do it for so cheap. And so I knew what the movie was going to look like. It was going to be green screen. It was going to be cheesy. It was going to get thrown up on the Sci-Fi Channel. Yes, I would have gotten $10,000, and yes, I would have been able to fly out there and be on set and do all that and got the credit. Probably would be doing a lot more movies right now. But because I knew that it was going to turn out to look like a piece of shit, I said, well, I'll either do it for this money and my wife stars in it, or I want 5 times as much. And they said no. And, moved to, get made with them. Uh, and so, like, in retrospect, that's one of my little stories that I kind of look back on, and like, well, what should I have done? What would you have done? I don't know. I tell you what, $10,000 is a lot of money to me back then and now. You know what I mean? Still. So, but I'm glad that I held on to it, because I think whenever one day when it eventually gets made, in my vision that I want, that I saw it getting made in, I think it's going to be one of the most successful movies ever made, like ever. you know. Um, so that's I think that kind of that gene, um, yeah, is definitely in all those directors, those filmmakers we're talking about and stuff like that. Just that willingness to, you know, be okay with saying, well, fuck you then.
Hmm.
It's not my way, it's the highway.
Sure. What is forward or right forward turret? What
Oh,
is?
right forward turret. Right forward turret's a very, very interesting concept. And I call it a concept because the script isn't done. And look, the action. Okay, so what it is it's I want to tell a story. I want to try to force myself to tell a story with only two characters in one room, and it all takes place during real time, right? So a 90-minute movie, 100-minute movie, it's the plot is 90 minutes, 100 minutes, or whatever. Um, I'd always had a fascination with, if you ever saw a movie called Memphis Belle, or Spielberg did an Amazing Stories about a turret gunner on a like
Yeah.
B-52 airplane bomber, right? I was always kind of fascinated with that, like you're surrounded by so many people and you're technically protected, yet they lock you in this enclosed capsule that like you're completely exposed and you're all alone. So it takes place in the distant future. um, International or international inner space cargo ships, right, are abound. And basically it's like when white men first came over to America, and white men speak English and with guns and pistols, and all of a sudden they meet these brown dudes with barely any clothes and feathers in their hair, and they can't communicate, so they just fight. Because whereas if like they were able to sit down and speak the same language or something like that, you probably never would have had the massive slaughter of you know any culture, whether it be Aztecs, Indians, whatever, you know what I mean, like them kind of taking over. Um, so these cargo ships, found, whatever thing they're mining off of Saturn or something, and they're shipping it back and forth. And one day or one trip, these like robot, these like mechanical like ships that just kind of tear apart, the other ships, similar like the last Star Trek movie, Star Trek Beyond. Those kind of like worm snake things, but all like made of like little tiny ships. Started ripping these ships apart. So what they did is they hired out an outside company that has these massive like turrets, like plasma cannon turrets and stuff, that they put on the ship in these little pods, and they defend the ships from these attacks. And so Right Forward Turret takes place inside one of these hubs, on one of these trips, 50 years into the whole backstory that I just gave you. And basically what happens is, one of them, one of the robots kind of short circuits and starts to become like self-aware, and instead of and starts to like build attacks and like plan attacks on the ships, as opposed to like they would just come in waves and just hit them, and the guns would shoot them and kill them all. So now
Kick ass.
yeah, it's becoming tactical, and and it's like the others begin following it and stuff like that, and all the other ships are getting destroyed in the fleet, and it's kind of down to this last right forward turret. That's it's on the right side of the ship, forward turret, and so it's the two characters, and then there's the whole underplot. It's really fucking crazy.
So,
And
well, in a way, this is also, in addition to being about two characters in real time, then it's also about artificial intelligence legitimizing itself as.
yeah, this one's more of like a spectacle type of show. Like, I'm gonna build one set. It's gonna have moving parts. It's gonna move. Like, I'm doing it all practical. So I'm setting up like a series of like lights outside the main window, you know what I mean, that looks out in space. So when the cannons fire, the lights reflect on the inside. Like, I'm not even really showing any of the the robots or anything. Just super, super, super practical. It's very super low budget. But the cool thing about it is that I've discovered this composer. If you look up, her name's Nico. If you go to SoundCloud and go to Music by Resin, Resin, you will find all of her stuff. Matter of fact, you'll hear some of the songs that she's started doing for the score. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to basically build the score and the story and the set and everything all at the same time, in kind of this congruitive kind of thing, with the hopes that, not the hopes, but like the plan of like, basically, okay, once it's all said and done, like I should be able to roll tape for the full 90 minutes and shoot the entire movie, you know what I mean, and do that 20 times and then put it all together, so I treat it very much like a play, because it's just one location, it's just two characters, dude, in a room, and the whole subplot is like, it's super weird but funny. It's like, I'd say Dog Day Afternoon, when Al Pacino comes out as like you find out he's a cross dresser and he has a boyfriend. That's the reason he's robbing the bank is
Oh
like
yeah,
to get a sex change, you know.
yeah.
And you're just like, what? It's kind of one of those type of things. You're just like, wait. I was following all this like space action stuff. I'm like, what? You're going with that? Okay, cool. I'm on board. That's no hopes for it, at least.
Now, far be it from me to speak for anyone else in filmmaking, but I know that they're, as far as I know, the company's still in action. You still there? You still with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I think it's called either Oscilloscope or Coat Wolf Productions.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of them, but I think they're located in LA as well, and I think they released Bellflower, which is like the most fitting Mad Max tribute I've ever seen. It's a little hipsterish, but I mean it's just a really great sentimental, but also like hardcore indie film, and I don't know. They seem to be about that, indie sensibilities, sticking to artistic principles, and while also being realistic about budgets and efficiency. You might look into it. I think it's headed up by a filmmaker named Evan Glodell. He directed Bellflower and also the forthcoming movie Canary. Um,
Yeah. No, I know Evan. I'm familiar with Oscilloscope. I know I was working on or developing a project with one of the producers on Bellflower. I'm familiar with the movie. Um, uh, uh, the interesting thing about that is that when I met those guys, I was like, "You're the Bellflower dudes, right? Like in this town, like in the independent, film world, like you're like, right? You're like one of the guys. You know what I mean? Like you guys did it. Those guys are still eating shit. They still cannot get the movies they want to get. They still have to fight for it. They may make one every 4 or 5 years. Where I'm talking about the director and stuff. Did you ever see what was his follow-up movie? Oh, so good.
Chuck,
They're
Hank,
like
and the San Diego Twins.
no, they're on like a boys' ranch type thing. It's like kind of like it's like a weird like it's not a prison necessarily, but it's like fuck. Um, Look it up. It's
If
because there
he
were like two main guys. It was Evan and somebody else that did Bellflower. I don't know if they're both credited as co-directors, but they're both co-writers. The other one wrote and directed a movie, and it's so good.
Okay,
Uh, yeah,
let's check this out here. Um, was it by the guy that played Aiden or what? Do you know?
yeah. It was one of the two main guys.
All right, let's check him out and see.
So you can find it first.
Forgotten Man,
No.
Among Wolves, no. Empyrean, no. No One Survives, Bunker. These are all shorts. Um,
Mm. Cold Water.
okay, I'm not familiar with that. What is?
Vincent Grashaw. He was the producer. He and Evan were the producers for Bellflower.
Okay.
Yeah, he directed and wrote it. It came out in 2013, so just after Bellflower. Check it out. I saw it on Netflix. I don't know if it's still on there. It's so effing good though, and that's just it. I was like, oh, okay, this is his follow up to Bellflower, and now it's 4 years later, and he got to direct another movie. You know what I mean? That's insane. It just these young and not even just young, not young, just you know, inexperienced or independent filmmakers that do a movie like Bellflower. That like, I mean, I have my personal opinions on it in terms of like how good of a movie it is, but like you can't not like the guys built their own flamethrower. You know what I mean? Like you can't short those guys for their work and their hustle to make a movie, and then and then and why aren't they Ryan Johnson? Why aren't they getting to direct the next Star Wars movie?
I think that you brought it up earlier that I think that this whole pirating situation probably is one of the smoking guns, at least one of the smoking guns here. Yeah, it's got to be the reason that no movies seem to be making a return, right? I mean,
No, no, it's the system that's been built. Like I said, this same system for 95 years. Look, every industry, not just in the entertainment field, like I'm talking business or agriculturally or educationally or whatever, every industry has adapted and modified themselves based on technology and just the way people are thinking, and things like that, except for the movie industry. It operates in the exact same model that it did 90 years ago. It's and like I said, outside perception, right? You guys, I don't mean to say like you guys, but um, just people that don't live in LA that aren't necessarily in the fucking grid of it, that are more the consumers and more the fans, the
sure.
reason to like even make these movies. Um, like just don't have any idea or perception on how the industry really works and how fucking terrible it is. Look, things are starting to come to light. Fuck you, Harvey Weinstein, right?
Mm.
Like that guy was at the top for 25 years and operated as a piece of shit the entire time. He's just now getting ostracized. How many Harvey Weinsteins do you think there are in the fucking industry? I'll tell you, almost all of them.
You've seen things, I'm sure, right?
100% seen, heard, know, you know what I mean? Shit done. Not to that any extreme or anything like that, but just like it's so poisonous. It can be, and the fact that there's still an outside perception about Hollywood and the movie industry that is so glamorous. I just want to fucking shut it down. I want to completely tear it down. I want to strip down that curtain, and I want to expose the industry for all of its flaws and everything, and like almost give it back to the people. You know what I mean? Film, like moving pictures, were not ever created for the purpose of making money. Period. It was a technical innovation that that was put into public forum to possibly expand a person's mind and sense of the world and what is all out there and expand their imagination. That's where they got started. And storytelling before that was always meant for that, right? Shakespeare, Aristotle, Homer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Always meant for that. But because, America is what it is and was what it was and still operates under many of the same principles, found a way to capitalize it, to monetize it, and then to control it, and then built a machine, built a system that just churned it out. Now we had, decades or eras where the art rose above the business. Big, big, big fan of early 70s. That whole team, that Spielberg, Lucas, Coppola, not even Kubrick, Scorsese, you know what I mean? Like, because they would help each other for free, not for credit, not because the studio told them, because they were all just wanted to make the best movies possible. You know what I mean? So, hey, you need me to come direct for you on set or run camera for you on set one day? Like, a famous story, I don't know if you heard it, but the scene in Scarface where Pacino comes out, say hello to my little friend, right, and is blowing up the whole thing. Did you know Spielberg operated a camera that day? He ran
No,
B cam.
no.
Yeah, because he was just visiting his buddy on set who was making a movie. You know, it wasn't Scarface then; it was just a movie. Brian De Palma's, and he just showed up and be like, "Hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm doing this big scene. You want to run a crew, a camera for me today? Sure." So you can actually go back and look, and it'd be interesting if you go back and look. But you can see there's some shots in that sequence. You're like, ah, that's Spielberg. You know, you can just tell his style and stuff like that. Um, where we're at now, that is completely gone. It's dead. It's gone. It's destroyed. I don't think it's ever coming back. Not in the current system. Not in the way that the system is now. Studios are going to continue to eat each other up until it finally implodes in 15, 20 years. Fortunately for us, we have the internet and technology on our side, and in 5 years, the studios are really going to start shitting their pants because, you know, like YouTube just sponsored the Super Bowl, like kickoff show. YouTube TV. What does that mean, right? Facebook just launched Facebook shows. They're
I did not
beta
know
testing
that.
that. Yeah, Snapchat in 24 to 36 months is going to launch your own show network, but it's not going to be on TV. It's not going to be on cable. It's going to be on your phone. Um, the industry, just, you know, movie studios are just playing the now. And
I
look,
don't know
you
if
can.
you. Okay,
Oh,
go. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I
Uh,
was just gonna say you can line up as many Marvel movies as you want, and you can you can keep acquiring as much IT as you or IP as you want. Um, but you're churning out the same material over and over again. There's nothing original, and I feel that the audience, the fans, the people that movies were originally made for, are kind of smelling it and kind of, you know, maybe not all of them, maybe it's a smaller percentage than what I think, but that's where I'm attacking now. I'm gonna go hard at that and like kind of turn my back on the system for a while.
everything, and I mean everything these days that has a sort of corporate sheen to it. You know, any sort of major financial backing. It's an adaptation of something else that someone else did.
Yeah, I mean, stories are always a adaptation of another story. That's like I'm fine with that, but it's like, where's the work put in, guys? Like you used to have to be an apprentice, you know, under William Goldman
Hmm.
as a screenwriter for 10 years, like just fucking, you know, copying scripts or, you know, reading scripts or whatever before you even got the chance to be able to write your own screenplay for a studio. Now they got a writer's room. I'm sorry, a fucking writer's room. Let's put 12 minds together and try to come up with one cognitive piece of story. All it's gonna be filled with are great ideas, great spectacle, and
Directing
that's
by committee.
right, exactly.
What's another?
Look at the last three Disney films, man. They can't even keep the fucking directors that they originally hire on through the movie. Ron Howard has to come in and finish up shooting Solo. By the way, the teaser looks stupid. Like, you know what I mean? It's like they're going on spectacle. They're going on ideas. They're literally squeezing every single last drop out they can. Hey, look, they're making billions of dollars. That's great, but like, I don't know.
But are
You
they?
know,
Are they? I thought that the theaters were imperiled financially. Um,
there's just a ton of disruption, and this year was the worst box office year for the last 3 or 4 years. Um, but you got people like The Rock that made Jumanji, that's still at number one. That's made $886 million off of a
board game, I guess.
well, no. I
Or
mean,
was it a
well, I was
book? It
gonna
was a
say,
book.
like off of a modest. I don't think the
Yeah.
budget was much more than 150 at max, and so, you know, plus times two in the marketing. Yeah, it's just like you're. I don't understand why you can't. You're taking 150 million to make one movie. I could literally make 45 films that are great stories with great characters that you know what I mean, for that amount of money. And so it it's just fascinating to me that the amount of money they're putting in for these big movies when, like, I don't know, I might put my next movie, my first movie I direct out on YouTube for free just to say fuck it, you know.
Yeah, it worked the first time so well, right?
Right, yeah, it got me this.
um, do you feel disheartened that there's been a major move towards filming with digital video instead of just honest film? I think David Lynch insisted on directing the new Twin Peaks on regular film, right? But
Yeah.
he's been a major supporter of digital video, like with Inland Empire. I think he used it
Yeah,
for that.
I honestly, I don't have a problem with it at all. I've never worked on with film, either still or moving. Bugs, actually, the final scene, the climax, I actually do want to shoot it on Super 16 after I saw a movie, Doug Liman's The Wall, last year. It looked so incredible and fantastic, and I was like, ugh, they had to have shot it on the, RE or Red or whatever. And when I looked up and saw that he shot it on Super 16, I was like, all right, that's cool. I can now spot the difference finally. No, I have no problem with it. Matter of fact, um, I know I don't have a problem with the format or the look or the technicality of it whatsoever. What I do have a very big problem with is the story. You know, I put off seeing that movie Tangerine for a number of years because I knew that the hype about it when it came out was that the director shot it all on his iPhone. And, it's like transgender or transvestite hookers in Los Angeles or in Hollywood, like I was like, okay, that's the reason I got all the hype. I just watched it for the first time a couple weeks ago, and fuck, the hype wasn't big enough on how great of a just movie that is, regardless of what format he shot it on or how he shot it, whatever. If you tell an entertaining story, you will win every single time, period. Done. Like, that's it. And to tell an entertaining story takes a lot of hard work. And I'm not talking about sitting in front of your computer and writing, for 20 hours into the night and whatever. No, the work I'm talking about is like what I mentioned earlier, that writing from the inside out. Like, what's the one thing you want to say with this piece of art? Start there,
Hmm.
then break it down to like your act structure, then break those acts down into scenes, then come up with 100 different scenes for each. You know what I mean? Like, work from the inside out.
Well, you
And
mean like to use a story to say something that you would say if you were being held at gunpoint, right?
why
Basically,
not?
yeah.
Why? Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Like, we're fucking artists, right? We're storytellers. We're filmmakers. We're the Do you think? Well, I mean, they made their money there, but like, you think the Van Goghs and the Michelangelos, or the Shakespeare's of the world, like, didn't put the work in to. The reason they're all great is because they put the work in before. They just weren't natural. I mean, obviously there's some level of like natural talent, stuff like that. But the greats, all the greats, work their fucking ass off. Like, I don't know. It just blows my mind that people don't. And also, it's that thing of like, look, everybody said, because you can get Final Draft or any screenwriting software for little to nothing. Um, Everybody says they're a screenwriter, and everybody says they're a producer as well, because you don't need, like, what do you need to show for it? I'm a writer and I'm a producer. Well, okay, I believe you. It's like, you're not really a writer. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Your scripts all suck. They're boring as hell. So, like, you may be a writer, but you suck at it.
See, that's the thing. Titles don't mean what they used to anymore. Even, I mean,
Exactly. Well, and like I said too before, go back to like the Disney and studio thing, is like, sure, there's like two or three guys or people credited with writing a screenplay. Uh, there's literally at least 10 people that worked on that. But WGA has guidelines. I actually know somebody who he's sold a spec screenplay in like 1989 and now teaches at UCLA. One of his jobs is to read all the different drafts of a given studio script and see the differences between all the writers that were put onto it, and thus determine from there who put in the majority of the work. So that's because if you were one of those 10 writers on the screenplay, but only 5% of your work got in, guess what? You're not getting credited, and you're not getting the residuals. So they'll break it down and figure out the 2-3 top people that had the majority of the impact on the script, and those are the ones that get credited and paid. I don't know. I mean, it's just weird to me. I don't know why you wouldn't just why don't you just take a year off of your life and just really dive in and try to write the greatest thing you've ever written in your entire life, because it might be the last.
Mm-hmm. One more thing, I did want to ask. I guess well, this might be a concluding note, but
Sure.
it occurred to me that one possibility that may have of something that may have interfered with the success of evidence at the beginning of all of this. I know that there was another movie released the following year, 2013, also called Evidence, and it was also a found footage film. At least parts of it were. Do you think that there could have been a marketplace confusion there?
Did you see that one?
I did. I didn't. There's no comparison between that one and yours. No comparison.
Do you feel like the last 20 or so minutes of that other evidence, like like if you put side by side, it's like, oh, it's the same, like dark,
No,
single light.
not a
No.
chance. No.
Interesting. So I'll tell you a story about that movie. Is that one of the producers on that movie, Anthony Rulin, I 100% know for a fact that he stole that idea from me. I met him a year and a half before that second evidence came out, at an event through mutual person. I had given that Apocalypse script to his company. It received 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5 from all their readers. But they were just coming off producing Snow White and the Huntsman, and he wanted to only do movies that were 50 to 80 million dollars in budget, and not anything lower. And so and I had given him evidence, and then a year later, that movie comes out produced by him. And right, so not look, anytime you go to title a movie or a screenplay or anything, right, the first thing you do is type it into IMDb and find out how many other movies are there with the same title. I'm not saying that, I mean, that happens, right? But the fact that it not only had the same title, was released literally a year after I had met the guy before, personally handed him a copy of my evidence. It's found footage. There's just, I mean, I got really deep into it for a while and was doing side-by-side comparisons and really like diving in deep, and just reactions and just the vibe, that last part of it. I just feel like they just really kind of ripped us off from that. So do I think it hurt the marketplace? No. Matter of fact, I actually think it probably upped our my evidence, or people's awareness of that, or whatever. You know what I mean? Because, and you can even Google it now, our movie is still higher on IMDb than that other one. You know what I mean? Our trailer on YouTube still has way more hits than theirs. Like, we're better. We're a better movie. We have more fun. You know what I mean? So it's like, fuck you, I
Absolutely.
still won. We're
Yeah.
better. you failed, and you made no money on it, and you spent $10 million, which is ridiculous. So, no, that's a whole story. I'm gonna, I'll get to that when when I got time. I'll make sure that the world knows about
When
that
you
whole
write your
story.
book, right?
Maybe not this book, but
Okay.
maybe the next one. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you what his evidence did not have. It didn't have dead women giving birth to live alien babies. It didn't have a helicopter, right?
Right.
It did
Right.
not have giant bugs on the floor. It didn't have
You know what I will give it?
what?
And also the screenwriter. That there's another story with him. Like I had interactions with him before I even met Anthony Rue and stuff like that too. And then I'm like, yo, you just like stole my movie, dude. Like this, you just wrote a found footage movie like a year and a half after I talked to you, called the exact same with the same title, like.
That's dirty pool. Come on.
F you, right?
Yeah.
F you. Oh, and his next movie after that was. I mean, the guy sucks. The guy's a shitty writer. He's a shitty film. He's not a filmmaker. It's whatever. So it's like at the end of the day, I can go to bed just fine, knowing that they still suck, and I'm better than them. So I'm okay with that. But yeah, they didn't have a helicopter or alien babies.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's definitely a piece of work. I still like to go. I still like to dust it off. Well, not dust it off, but I still like to revisit it every Halloween or every
Oh,
year.
that's cool.
You know what?
Cool. Actually,
Now I actually feel bad though. I actually think I'm gonna go. It's still available on DVD, right?
Dude, don't worry about it.
No,
Don't buy
I
it.
feel bad though
Don't buy
because
it because no, don't buy it because you're gonna put money in somebody else's pocket, not mine. So watch it. And matter of fact, share the fucking link on the YouTube link. The more you can. I'm all for that, dude.
Okay.
No, I appreciate it, but no, don't.
Well, you know
buy it.
what? If you ever do return to this that little world and you make Evidence Ground Zero, I will definitely purchase it, digital, DVD, whatever. Because
then I'm gonna require
yes,
all of you that have seen the first one for free. I'm gonna say, motherfuckers, you better pay me.
I mean, yeah, we've waited a long time for this. Come on, don't ruin this, guys.
Right.
But I know that you did also allude to something off air that you had a speaking engagement to get to a little bit later. But did you want to talk about any of those goals you mentioned off air before we go?
What did I mention?
Challenging a certain infrastructure, a certain system that has been in power too long, maybe? Would that
Yeah, like the fact that I want to build the biggest independent movie studio that's ever faced the earth.
Yes.
And in the meantime, I also want to destroy Hollywood at the same time. Yeah, I want to destroy all the other movie studios. Yeah. I mean that's my goal. I want to, and look, I know it's going to happen because I know the studio system is going to implode on itself. I just know the market too well. I know the film market better than anybody I've ever met in my entire life, and I've sat down and spoken with 3-time Oscar-winning producers. You know what I mean? It's just in my blood, it's in my DNA. It's like if I were on Wall Street and those people just like fucking know the market, what's gonna hit, what's not, and why. I just know that about movies, and so I can see the path that the studios are going down. I know all the moves they're making, and they're trying to play catch up, and they're still riding this high that they get to make $1 billion from a movie in a year, even if they spend 600 or 700 million. That's okay to them. But I'm looking at Netflix. I'm looking at Amazon. If you're not familiar with MoviePass, they just made an announcement over Sundance that it's big. And I'll tell you this. At Sundance, I was at this MoviePass event, this panel, and Elijah Wood and his company, Spectre Vision, were there. And they have Elijah Wood as the face of their company. And they're still having the exact same difficulties I do, who's a nobody, of not only getting a movie made, but getting it made the way you want and the movie you want made. the way you want. You know what I mean? They're getting, well, you need more, gore, more heads cut off, or it needs to be less and more PG-13 so we can sell. It's like, they're like, well, can't we just make like a really good like R-rated thriller horror movie? So when I heard that, it really lit a fire, and I spoke out, um, and just that entire room is a very intimate setting, but like I was looking around, 50 or so people, and it's like everyone in this room 100% agrees with each other that the system is broken and it needs to get changed. Yet nobody's doing it. And so I've decided to make it my mission and my goal in life to disrupt the system, not only disrupt it, but help destroy it. And I'll take all the hits, I'll lead the charge, and 50 years from now, my grandchild, if they want to make movies or tell stories for a living, are going to have the most blissful, amazing opportunities and experiences to do so. So that's my goal. That's where I'm at.
That is some ruthless ambition. I admire it. That's some major bravado. You know what? I am very optimistic for your future, and I wish you the best, as well as your family and anyone else who crosses your path. And I wouldn't mind having you back in the future when closer to your next release, which I do believe will happen. You know,
100%. I would absolutely love to. And in the meantime, I'll shoot you a follow-up email, but in the
I've got to read
meantime,
that script, man.
yeah, shit. I'll send you the script, and and go to my YouTube channel, because I started a daily vlog, or at least as much daily as I can, um, and just put my message, like the talk I'm giving later tonight. I'm gonna film that, put that out there. So not only am I just having this message, and just saying it during interviews or whatever, um, I don't want there to be any appearance of like me, of any bravado or anything like that. It's like, so I'm trying to be as open and transparent as I can, and sharing with everyone everything that I go through every single day, and every move I'm making, or every decision I'm trying to do, just in order just to make a movie, just to give it to fucking fans. Like, that's literally like my only thing. That's the only reason I want to make movies and tell stories, is to have people entertained and check out for a couple hours. So
Imagine that, to directors who actually want to entertain an audience, right?
crazy. So yeah, but I would suggest, like, following that channel, or putting out to your listeners or friends and stuff like that, because I mean, there's nothing else like out there on YouTube. Nobody else is saying it, or doing stuff like that, and so I'm pretty proud of it, and I'm excited for it.
What is that channel? Is it your name, or?
No, I don't have a vanity URL, or I do. I think it's Rhino Rider Boyer Productions.
With RYNORYDER, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All the links are in my email signature, like
Excellent.
the YouTube, and then my Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. Yeah, I'm encouraging people. I'm trying to get people to follow my story, because I am documenting daily, and I'm doing a lot of stuff, like, vlogging, podcasting daily. I'm launching a podcast internet show at the end of March. I have a graphic novel of that apocalypse script coming out in May or June. Just a lot of stuff, and so I'm trying to document as much as I can, and give some real, like, insight of, like, hey, this is the phone call I had today with XYZ producer. This is like, these are how those conversations go. This is how difficult it is to try to make a fucking movie,
Mm-hmm.
And reach out to those. Look at the next generation of young filmmakers that are coming up, and basically refusing to allow them to fall into the same pit traps and make the same mistakes that I have, and drop them some real serious knowledge, of what I've gathered over the last 18 or so years, of the industry and how it works and the real deal of it. Because these kids, like okay, tonight I'm gonna go to USC. I'm gonna go talk to the film students there, and these kids are ready to graduate. They got their film thesis, their demo reel cut together. They're excited. Professors are telling them, how the industry is, even though they haven't fucking worked in it in 25 years. And they think they're going to graduate and come out and write, direct their first movie, and it's going to be better than, cooler than Bellflower, and be as successful as Paranormal Activity. And guess what's going to happen is they're going to get punched in the fucking face so many times that they're going to go home crying and bleeding to mommy and daddy and never come back again. Or they're going to kill themselves, or they're going to kill someone else. Either way, I refuse to let that happen anymore. So.
All right. The links to everywhere you can find Ryan will be below, and I wish you the best. Thank you so much for everything and giving me your time, Ryan.
Jeremy, thanks, man. This was a lot of fun. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out. Feel free to reach out absolutely anytime. I'm more than happy to do this.
Excellent.